All right. Yeah. Welcome aboard here every Tuesday and Thursday, 4 p.m. Eastern. Jimmy Ott, along with Paul Stone, as we talk college football. It's our big game preview as we look at the high profile games, the highest ranked matchups, and the highest expected, volume of handle. Through the Bet Rivers sports books via the app. So we'll do this. And then on Thursday, we'll turn it right back around with our best bets. We'll have about three or four a piece for you on Thursdays as well. So good for good week zero, a 3-1 week collectively. So we hit with that with Iowa State, Kansas, and also the Hawaii Rainbow Warriors doing it with walk-off style, huh? With that field goal at the end. So really good stuff. And so in a couple of we don't want to overreact, especially to ugly offensive football the first week. But did Kansas State leave that game out there, so to speak? Even though we cashed a ticket on Iowa State, had Iowa State plus a 3, but failed fourth down conversions, those are turnovers, and they had that in combined turnovers. It was 5-1. So four more turnovers for Kansas State than Iowa State. And the same thing with UNLV in Portland State. So 555 of total offense against Dan Mullen's crew. So, we talked about these teams like Indiana, Illinois, Syracuse, Arizona State. Would they bounce after some exceeding expectations by such a wide margin? They're not Power Four, but UNLV is in that category, especially with changing coaches. Some of the others, they still have their coaches, so maybe not quite as a dip. If I'm coaching an SEC team, Paul, I'm taking Dan Mullen over Barry Odom. But if I want him coaching UNLV, Barry Odom set the bar pretty damn high at Las Vegas. So probably could have waited another year with maybe to get a better job than Purdue. No offense to the Boilermakers, but still. Any big takeaways from week zero? Misleading scores, funky games, low scoring? What anything that caught your eye?
Well, I'm not one to overreact. I've been doing it for a long time. But with that said, I don't think Iowa State or Kansas State, after that, and it's one game, and this is kind of almost an outrageous statement, but I don't think those teams have enough game breakers on offense, to win the conference. They're certainly going to be good. There's certainly 8-win top teams, I think, but I don't know that they have the field stretchers and the game breakers. Iowa State, obviously, and they'll find people. I just don't think they'll find people to the extent and the level they've had in the past. Kansas State's Dylan Edwards,
Right.
one of their game breakers, kind of a scat back, goes out early, doesn't return. That certainly hurt the Wildcats. So that's one of my takeaways there. I don't know that they're going to have quite enough oomph to win the Big 12. And then looking at that UNLV Idaho State game, UNLV gives up 555 yards to the Bengals. They average, I think Idaho State averaged over 7 yards a play. Idaho State commits 4 turnovers. UNLV only 1. So UNLV has to be +3 in the turnover category to defeat an Idaho State team that's had one winning record at the FCS level in the previous 10 years. So I think this UNLV team, although they were the second place pick by the Mountain West media in the summer media days, I'm not sure they're that team. I think Boise, again, we might change our tune once the Broncos play at South Florida in 2 days, this Thursday, the 28th. But right now, Boise looks to be double digits better than anybody in the Mountain West, in my opinion, especially after watching UNLV struggle against Idaho State and Fresno State look totally outmatched by Kansas.
Looked some of the look ahead spots. UNLV's lines were altered as the odds makers adjusted them by about 3 points, and they don't get in the business of overreacting as well, but that might be underscoring it a little bit because I know it's not an official turnover, but like I said, another failed fourth down attempt by Portland State. Well, that's a turnover on downs, to even add it to what UNLV had to get to come away with an outright winner at home against Portland State. Let's get to it right now. And this is 1 versus 2 in some polls. And Ohio State, the defending national champions. Ohio State, not a lot of people talking about them a ton. I mean, Penn State's getting all the chatter in the Big Ten and around the country. You got Texas for sure, preseason number 1 for the first time in their history. But all Ohio State's going to be this year is projected to be favored in all 12 of their scheduled games. So they started out about 3 or so. It's been bet down to 2.5. And now at Bet Rivers, it's at 2. Arch Manning hype, it's out there. This could be a tough spot for him. First road start in a hostile environment for young quarterbacks. This is the one for Arch Manning as he goes on to Ohio State here. So, Paul, it's just a good one, and good for Texas and Ohio State for scheduling this damn thing. We sorely need these high-quality non-conference games, and it brings up memories where both teams had late touchdown drives on each other's home territory to pull out a win, both advancing to the national championship game. That year, Texas won it all. In the Rose Bowl against USC, Ohio State, I believe, came up short to the Florida Gators, I believe, that year when they Troy Smith, and they won that wild one in the end of the year game against Michigan in their rivalry game. That was like 42 to 38, something like that. He was really good, the Heisman Trophy winner, but Florida just too much team speed. Paul, you look at the Texas Longhorns, you certainly know them well, catching a couple of points here at the Horseshoe on the big noon Eastern kickoff on Fox.
Yeah, I tell you, I've heard a lot of different takes, Jimmy, about the quarterback situations for both these teams, and I think they're quite different. I look at Arch Manning, first of all. This is a guy who's not your typical third-year player starting for the first time. I mean, he sat patiently behind Quinn Ewers, never complained, never, threatened to transfer or anything like that. He's been carefully groomed and properly seasoned, and he's played a lot of football. He started 2 games last year. He threw 90 passes last year. He took some meaningful snaps. So I think he's ready to go. He's not going to be perfect, and maybe he doesn't deserve to be the betting favorite in the Heisman Trophy market, but he's going to be a big-time quarterback this season. So I'm not as concerned about how Manning performs in Columbus versus the Buckeyes as I am about how Julian Sayin performs in his first meaningful action of his career against the best defense, arguably in all of college football. Sayin played a total of 27 snaps last year. He completed 5 passes, all those completions in the fourth quarter during garbage time against overmatched opponents. He's a 5-star talent. No question he's going to be a big-time player there in Columbus. So he unquestionably has the talent, but he also undeniably lacks experience. And he's going up against, again, one of the best, if not the best defense in the nation. You got Colin Smith, a true sophomore. He had 9 sacks last year, only playing situationally. He's put on some bulk. He's going to be more of an every down player this year. And then also in that front 7, a guy who was a consensus first-team All-America linebacker / hybrid type last year, Anthony Hill Jr. This will be Hill's last year of college football. He'll be a Thursday night selection come April. So I think they're going to use Simmons and Hill in a lot of different ways, give them a lot of different looks. I think it's going to be a tough night for Julian Sayin. It's just a really difficult assignment for this to be your first big game. I know you probably remember in 2009 when Texas was playing Alabama, Colt McCoy gets hurt and goes down against Alabama in the national championship game. And in comes true freshman Garrett Gilbert, who for some reason had never really played during the year. And he goes in, the first time he's ever played is against the Alabama Crimson Tide, that kind of defense in a national championship game. And he was clearly not ready for the moment. So I think this is somewhat of a similar circumstance. However, Ohio State, they're the defending national champion. They are 63-5 straight up at Ohio Stadium the last 10 years. So they will not go quietly. But again, they've got a new quarterback. They got 2 new coordinators. They've got 8 new starters on defense. Texas is really their only glaring weakness that hits you in the face of that offensive line. Got 4 new starters, but 2 of those guys have played. So they really only have 2 questionable spots, including right tackle, and they are questionable. I mean, Texas, like everybody else, has warts and blemishes. But I think Texas is going to go in there and get the victory like the Longhorns +2 over the Buckeyes noon Central on Saturday in the big game.
Noon Eastern, 11 Central.
Noon Eastern, 11 Central. See, I don't even. I confused myself. I was, yeah.
That's okay. They put a lot of money into branding that thing. So, but anyway, and that will be the first game on Saturday, and a great matchup. And way to go, decision makers at those two schools for scheduling each other. Very, very well done. Let's move on to the Sunday game, Paul, and another pick for you, and that is Notre Dame and Miami. And Christians versus convicts of sorts, huh? Notre Dame has had a tough go in the last 6 visits down to South Florida. So they took it on the chin every time. Irish 2.5, 49.5 at Miami, and Miami's got a new quarterback, and Notre Dame had a quarterback battle, and they have settled on theirs also. But you like the Irish here on the road against Miami. It's a home game for Miami, which is tough to draw up a big crowd. They usually get up for Notre Dame, but Notre Dame, the bandwagon is full. They're excited about their team right now. They'll have a sizable contingency in that stage. I don't know, maybe roughly 30% of the stadium, something like that. But Miami hosting, where they've been tough on Notre Dame in this spot, but you like the Irish.
Yeah, I tell you, and again, kudos to these teams for scheduling meaningful games. We've got 3 matchups of top 10 teams, teams ranked in the preseason AP poll, which is just incredible that you've got 6 of the 10 top 10 teams, pitted against each other. And this is one of the good ones, just an intriguing game. Quarterback's obviously the most important position in college football, perhaps the most important position in all of sports. But Notre Dame, other than the quarterback position, man, this is just a loaded roster. Every position area is, top 5, top 10 caliber on a national scale. But the quarterback position, obviously, again, a critical one. C.J. Carr, he only appeared last year, I think, briefly in one game. He's never attempted a pass as a collegian, but they're really high on his vertical passing ability. Apparently, he's got a little bit of a gunslinger mentality and likes to throw in tight spots like a lot of guys with arm talent do. But he's apparently, a guy who can throw it downfield. But I just think if Carr or Minchie, or a combination of the two, because I think Kenny Minchie might play against Miami, Florida. If they can just hold serve at the quarterback position, again, this Notre Dame team is loaded. You look at that running back room, you got Jeremiah Love and Jadarian Price. They combined for almost 1,900 yards rushing last year, combined to average 6.6 yards per carry. They've got a receiving room that's going to be much improved this year. If you go back to the last 2 games of the Irish's season in 2024, the semifinal match against Penn State, the championship game against Ohio State, Jaden Greathouse had his coming out party in those 2 big games on the biggest of stages, 100-yard performances receiving against both those mammoth opponents. So he heads that receiving room, and they bring in transfers Malachi Fields of Virginia, Will Pauling of Wisconsin, guys who played a lot of college football. I think that's going to make it easier on Carr and company. And then defensively, Notre Dame's got to be on the short list, along again with Texas, Penn State, and some others, as perhaps having the best defense in the country. They're loaded at all 3 levels. And then looking at Miami, they lose their quarterback, Cam Ward, first pick in the draft. He's off to the NFL. And in through the portal comes Georgia transfer Carson Beck. And I know they're paying him loads of money there in South Beach, and they're expecting him to be the guy. But I'm just not sold on Carson Beck as a frontline power forward, top 10 type quarterback. In 2023, the last half of that year, he really played well, but he had Brock Bowers at tight end. He had Ladd McConkey at wide receiver. He had some really good weapons. Miami loses their top 7 pass catchers from last year. Their top leading returning wide receiver, who played at Miami last year, only had 6 receptions. So he doesn't have that kind of weaponry here at South Beach this year. And also, there was a 6-game stretch last year at Georgia during the midsection of the schedule, a 6-game stretch. Carson Beck threw 12 interceptions and got sacked 13 times. I just don't think he takes care of the ball. I think if Notre Dame can just break even on the turnover battle, they're going to win this game. They're going to run the ball at the Canes. I like Notre Dame -2.5 over Miami.
I was watching the SEC championship game with a bunch of Georgia fans and on the coast, the Gulf Coast, and when he went down, there weren't a whole lot of depression around the tables, and certainly watching the backup. You know, he's gutsy. I mean, he got his helmet knocked off. I mean, he got knocked silly, and he's just a tough kid, but he does not have he can't make the throws that Carson Beck can. So something about the intangibles. And listen, man, you're in a position of leadership, and all the fast cars and this and that, and it's publicized how much you're getting. Still, I thought a boy from Washington State via Incarnate Word, he handled it pretty damn well down there last year. If they lost late and got knocked out the ACC championship game in the playoff late, it wasn't because of their offense and their quarterback play. I think it can only go down this year for Carson Beck at Miami. I'm not sold as well. Let's move on and talking about two teams that we talked about Notre Dame and Miami playing from time to time, and they have a history. The only history for LSU and Clemson are in the postseason. So bowl games, including the 1959 January 1 Sugar Bowl that the first national championship LSU team played for, and they won, finished undefeated. Auburn tried to claim that one, by the way, recently, but that one of 7 that they tried to claim. But Clemson comes in here as a 4-point favorite. The total is 57. Clemson has Dabo's words at ACC Media Days. We got everybody back. And, it was Dabo's sort of a lack of a lukewarm embracing of the transfer portal, flat out just denying it. Not even we're not taking any transfers. This and that. We don't want any. Well, you can't try and build a roster these days with one arm tied behind your back. He has softened it, but he still has as high of a retaining percentage of his current roster, and that's half the battle. You're not just recruiting people off your roster. You're trying to maintain the players that you have on your roster. So it drives the coaches crazy, but they have a lot of success of holding on to a lot of their players. The offensive line has never been more experienced, and in their words, never been better in the Dabo era, the Dabo Sweeney era. The quarterback, we know about Klubnik. He had a good game, but I wanted to see it against some quality teams. Some of it was built up against some also rans in the ACC with a clutch 50-yard touchdown run with just over 2 minutes to go, or 2 minutes to go at Pitt that turned a deficit into the game-winning score. SMU in the ACC championship game, and a very respected Texas defense on the road in that quarterfinal game. He really finished strong. So Klubnik, who was highly thought of, he's got everything coming in. He's a true dual threat. He can beat you both with his arm and with his legs. At one point in his career, I think he trusted his legs a little bit more. That's what most of the athletic guys do until they get settled in at the pocket. On defense, they think they're really good. Not 2018 good, but good. But just how I think they have a chance to be good because they've got a first-round defensive tackle, a first-round defensive end, another highly thought of a defensive tackle who was hurt most of the year, another defensive lineman who comes in for Purdue, highly thought of. You're a little concerned at the safety position. A.J. Terrell's little brother is playing one of the cornerbacks. He's really good as well. They have a lot. They have their top 3 receivers coming back from last year, and the star receiver of the camp who was hurt most of the last year, he's been Klubnik's favorite target. So he's got 4 trusted receivers. Running backs, they lost a 1,000-yard rusher, and they don't have a great returning, not an established, dependable one. It's all set up for Clemson. They're going to be favored in all 12 games, including this one. LSU, on the other hand, they think highly of themselves. Clearly, Brian Kelly's best roster since he's been here. And, man, they're so much better on defense, so much better than they've been, consistently getting the best of the offense in the scrimmages. On defense, they have not just a rebuilt defense to complement some really good players like Harold Perkins and some others, but also they have a 2-deep rotation up front. They're going to rotate a lot of guys. They got a couple of all kinds of transfers from Florida, Florida State, and other places. So they're deep. They have 85 Power 4 starts on their 2 deep that's coming back. So they've got talent and they've got depth. But Brian Kelly said at the press luncheon this Monday, they're going to rotate on the offensive line as well. Paul, tell me if you've heard this. Transparency, but almost to a fault here. We're going to rotate 8 offensive linemen, tackle to tackle, on Saturday night. Rotation is what you want to do on the defensive side of the ball, not necessarily on the offensive side of the ball. The most concerning unit, I think this unit will be adequate when they get there. And when they do, look out, because Nussmeier's got tremendous arm talent. He's got experience. He's waited his turn, kind of like Arch Manning. Waited a couple, never did transfer, stayed in the system. He's got continuity. He knows he's engaged now, to his girlfriend at LSU. But it might be a tough start for this one against a respected front on the road, hostile environment, first game. Man, that's when some offensive lines are at a disadvantage. You watch Farmageddon in Dublin. I know the conditions, but they had some offensive line issues as well. That's why they went to so many multiple tight end protections later on in the game. I'd like LSU. I think LSU is going to be better than Clemson, just not right now. I think this is a great spot for Clemson, but I'm not ready to lay these points as well, considering that LSU is so much better defensively. A lot of quick underneath stuff to kind of help that offensive line for LSU, and LSU's defense is way better than it's been, and that's where this high number of 57 is built upon. Under 57 is my best play of this week one, this 5-day opening college football weekend, Paul.
I'll tell you, if not for Texas and Ohio State, I mean, this game would be getting all the love, and it's right there at that level. I mean, if Texas and Ohio State's 1A, I mean, this is 1A or 1B, just a great matchup. Two teams that both claim to play at Death Valley, both nicknamed the Tigers. It's what college football is all about. And you alluded to it, obviously LSU replacing 2 really great tackles, left tackle Will Campbell, top 5 NFL draftee this past April, and then right tackle Emory Jones. So that's, those guys not going to be easily replaced. And I'm sure some of Coach Kelly's rotation decisions based on just trying to see who can play when the lights are on. And certainly Clemson will provide a good test and some good insight as to who those tackles might be going forward. I don't have a play on this game. I mean, I'm kind of torn. It's just one that, you can kind of make cases for both teams. You can kind of see where both teams maybe, have some questions. Clemson's defense, man, they got so much individual talent, but down the stretch last year, they really gave up a lot of yardage and a lot of points to quality teams. So, I wonder about that. But, again, just what a great game. And I'll say Cade Klubnik, he was a guy who, until about the middle of last year, maybe the last 5 games, he really had not lived up to his 5-star promise out of Austin Westlake High School. But those last 5 or so games last year, and watching the spots that he put the ball in against Texas, I'll go on record right now, and I don't even know who all will be eligible, but I'll say Cade Klubnik will be the first overall pick in the 2026 NFL draft. He's got that kind of arm talent. He's not just floating up in the air and guys grabbing it. I mean, he's got a big time arm. And like you said, he's got some mobility. He's a high character guy. I think he just checks a lot of boxes. LSU's lost their last 5 openers, well chronicled, 3 of those under Brian Kelly. Clemson 0-3 versus the SEC last year, losing to Georgia, South Carolina, and Texas. Something's got to give. Going to be a great game, but I'm probably going to be on the sideline just watching with no betting interest.
Yeah, get another credit to the schedule makers here. And, Brian Kelly, man, he's got to win an opener. He's 0 for 3, and LSU's 0 for their last 5 since that unbelievable 2019 team. One of our viewers, Shane, wants to chime in and says LSU not favor blasphemy. I got to say, and Shane, don't get mad. Don't get pissed. Get action. Just take the 4 if you like it. Take the money line if you want. Don't get pissed. Get action. So let's move on and let's look at another game. Neutral site game. ACC SEC matchup. South Carolina and Virginia Tech. South Carolina here 7.5 and 54.5. A lot of people kind of like Shane Beamer. South Carolina is not one of the upper half SEC resource-rich programs. They're in the bottom half. We're just not terrible. They've got some, but it's just they don't have what some of the superpowers have as far as budget is concerned. But he really had a good season last year, and Lenora Sellers was boy, man, he was a handful to deal with at times. And in other times, he's, a 2-point conversion. He's throwing the ball almost in the stands. Well, that's not good to try and tie the game at Bryant-Denny against Alabama. So he seems like, unless he's really putting on an act, seems like such a solid, likable guy too. That is sort of I don't know, a dependable guy that is only going to work hard and improve on the processing, the decision making, his accuracy, just everything that requires time and reps at the quarterback position. Because man, when he tucks it and runs, man, he's a load. He's not quite Anthony Richardson, but he's a handful to deal with. On the other hand, Virginia Tech, and they're kind of, they're just kind of, man, mediocrity over, they have never been the same really since Frank Beamer has left and left it over for multiple replacements there. But they do have a third-year starting quarterback in Drones. So you got two experienced quarterbacks here. In Virginia Tech, we'll see. I think South Carolina, the pundits, especially the SEC media contingency at SEC Media Days, they undersold South Carolina. And a lot of times that group is reactionary. Now I think they're overselling South Carolina. Sellers is back. He should be better. I would be shocked if he's not better than he was last year, but he's going to have to do a lot on his own this year. They lose some weapons, but they especially lose those guys up front defensively. That was the real difference maker for South Carolina. They gave some guys some fits last year and kept them in some games. No doubt about that. So I'm going to take the early games, ugly offenses. I'll take the 7.5 on a neutral site game down in Atlanta at the Mercedes-Benz the Mercedes-Benz Dome. I'll take the Hokies plus the 7.5 against the Gamecocks.
Yeah, I mean, both these teams suffered, pretty significant personnel losses. And you're talking about Virginia Tech not being the same since Frank Beamer left. Kind of hard to even fathom this, but the last 5 years in ACC play, Virginia Tech only 19-22 in conference. That's not the Virginia Tech that we knew under Frank Beamer. And as a result, their current head coach, Brent Pry, firmly on the hot seat and might, if they start out cold, he might be in jeopardy, before even the end of the season. But, again, both these teams lose a lot. Start with South Carolina. They got some good news, first of all, yesterday on Monday, the 25th of August, when the NCAA ruled that their running back transfer from Utah State, Rashul Faison, would be eligible. He rushed for over 1,000 yards last year for the Aggies. He's a big guy, has some explosiveness. Going to be interesting to see how he makes the translation from being on a middle-rung team in the Mountain West to playing SEC football week after week. But he's got some talent, and I know they need some playmakers. They lost their running back, Rocket Sanders, from a year ago. They're replacing 3 offensive linemen. You said Sellers probably will be improved in year 2. I think he will be. I think he'll be, with experience, he'll be a better player, a more aware player, but his statistics might not show it because I just don't think he's got quite the same personnel around him. And then you look at South Carolina's defense. They had 5 players drafted in the first 4 rounds of this past April's NFL draft. So 5 Gamecocks on defense alone go in the first 4 rounds. That's a lot of losses for a program like South Carolina. They only gave up 18 points a game last year. Probably going to go about 10 points higher or 8 points higher this year. And then Virginia Tech, other than Kyron Drones returning at quarterback, they don't have much more back from a 6 and 7 team. They had 5 players drafted in the NFL draft overall, the same amount as Penn State. So they lose a lot of people. They replacing basically their entire offensive line, both coordinators, an offensive line coach, just a lot of changeover there in Blacksburg. So a lot of questions, hard to really put a finger on which team's going to come out of the gate, with their best foot forward, in my opinion, on this one. But another, this is not at the same level as LSU, Clemson, or Texas, Ohio State. But what a great neutral side opener. Virginia Tech and South Carolina and Atlanta be a great game to watch.
Yeah, and then we got to keep that in mind too. That the SEC kind of made that move. They'll go to 9 conference games, but they are maintaining their policy where all of their teams have to schedule at least one Power 4 opponent, so a non-conference. So that wondered about that. So that's a win-win, an unusual, uncharacteristic win for college football fans like ourselves to just, man, we want to see the best teams play. We don't want to see SEC teams play SWAC teams. Sorry. That's not what we want to see for no reason. And like Penn State, come on, man. But, that non-conference schedule, big, little game, James. Come on, bro. I mean, with that scale, what are they going to average? What are they going to be collectively in the 3 non-conference games? 120 points of combined favorites. So pitiful. That's shame. But anyway, we do this every 4. We got 2 more games to look at as far as our big game preview on Tuesdays and Thursdays, 4 p.m. Eastern. Myself, Jimmy Ott, and Paul Stone. But don't forget, it's also our Wednesday. Wednesday, it's the Big Ten show with Doug Kazarian, Troy Macker, and Greg Waddell. So we've got that every Wednesday at 4 p.m. Eastern right here on the College Sports Rush. So the 10 is the name of the show. Big Ten Betting Show. That's every Wednesday, 4 p.m. Eastern. So we do it Tuesday and Thursdays. The big game preview. We got 2 games more in the preview. And then we got our best bets coming back on Thursday at 4 p.m. Eastern. Let's get to a total that you're looking at. We're going to Doak Campbell Stadium in Tallahassee. They renovated, spent some money, actually reduced the capacity a little bit at Doak Campbell. And they've had some money issues a little bit. One of the reasons that Jimbo Fisher had left, he didn't have control of where some of the money was going for the football program. They put it on the stadium. Well, he's out of coaching now. He's still collecting after going to A&M. But here we go. In Florida State, you talk about the transfer portal. It's a year-to-year basis. Undefeated, got screwed. I mean, let's face it. I mean, they can't help the health of their quarterback. All they do is go 13-0. The ACC champions won with the backup quarterback against Louisville, and they still got left out. Last year, a complete disaster. And I mean, one of the games they won, like Cal, they were fortunate to do so. But they're hosting, and they are be hosting Alabama. It will be loaded with Florida State fans. Alabama will have a contingency there as well, but it will be the first road start for this young Alabama quarterback. He's waited his turn. He's got some ability, and he's got some weapons. There is no doubt about that for Alabama. They've got some weapons, including Williams, the true sophomore. The 14 and 50.5 is a total here, Paul. That's the 50.5 total is where you come in.
Yeah, redshirt junior Ty Simpson. He's a 4th-year player there in Tuscaloosa. He's appeared in 16 career games, thrown a total of 50 career passes. And obviously, Alabama recruits big-time players, but he's finally getting his opportunity. And I would expect a little bit of a learning curve, obviously, for a first-time starter. You mentioned Ryan Williams, the true sophomore. That's a nice weapon there at wide receiver. But their running back room took a hit early in fall drills, preseason workouts when their top running back, Jam Miller, dislocated his collarbone. They're hoping he's going to be back the last Saturday in September, but holding the fort down at the running back position until Miller returns are Richard Young and Daniel Hill. They have combined on their careers to rush for a total of 231 yards. They both have averaged less than 5 yards a carry on their career. So despite their talented offensive line up front, I'm just not sure that Alabama's going to put up some big numbers against a Florida State defense that once again dipped quite heavily into the portal to bolster its ranks. Looking at Florida State, much like their defense, the Seminoles are pretty much a new look unit on offense as well. The most notable addition being that of former Boston College quarterback Thomas Castellanos. And Castellanos is an exciting player. I think he made a mistake back in July, maybe at media days, talking about how they were going to, I don't know what his exact quote was, but he basically alluded to them ready to take it to Alabama when they met in the season opener. That's probably not the best of ideas, and it might come back to haunt him. But as exciting as Castellanos is, and he's a dangerous runner, I should add that he rushed for more than 1,100 yards at BC back in 2023 before losing his job last year. But Castellanos, he's also an erratic passer. He is not polished in the passing game. He has thrown 19 interceptions in 20 career starts, so really loose with the football. And again, it's a different offense, and teams change so much now from year to year. But Florida State only averaged 13 points and 257 yards a game last year against FBS opponents. So that's among the worst of any Power 4 team, maybe among the worst in both categories among Power 4 teams last year. They are offensively challenged, and even though they'll be better this year, I don't think those numbers bode well going up against an Alabama defense that, figures to again be among the nation's top 6 or 7 units in the country. I think, again, Simpson is going to experience some growing pains. I think Florida State's going to have trouble moving the ball against the Tide. It's only Tuesday as we sit here on the 26th of August, so the game's still 4 days away, and forecasts can change, but currently 70% chance of rain, thunderstorms there in Tallahassee. This is a day game. That's 70% both day and night at the present, so could be some weather issues as well. I like Alabama, Florida State to go under the total of 50.5.
Weather has got a lot of people excited, even up in Ohio. They're getting unseasonably cool weather. Clemson, my Clemson folks, I mean, 70s for game day as well. So both in Columbus, Ohio, also, but deeper in the south. That might be the only casualty for our weather concerns. So with this opening weekend, we will see. But you saw the graphic that we put up, our guys put up, and you said 14 returning starters. Well, returning starters, it seems like every preseason guide or service, or show like this has a different source. We're talking about guys that were starters on that roster last year, not at, at North Carolina A&T, Syracuse, or Miami of Ohio. No, at Alabama. And that's one of the things that Kalen DeBoer, who, listen, it's an impossible job for anybody to follow Saban in Tuscaloosa, and that's an impossible fan base as well. But, I mean, that's a hell of a job to convince those guys. Well, a lot of guys that weren't going necessarily to other schools, they're going to go in the draft. And it's not, the first rounders, you can't fault them, Paul. But, man, it's those second, third, fourth, fifth round picks that could really help your football team in college and also probably improve their stock if they commit for one more year. DeBoer was really good this offseason for them. And we talk about coaching changes. You make a coaching change, your roster is going to take a hit. So he got another shot. It looks like he's more prepared. He brings his offensive coordinator he's very comfortable with in there also. This just in. They think they're going to be good. I know that in Tuscaloosa. They always do. But if he's not better, they will certainly hear about it. But some room for optimism for DeBoer in this impossible task following Nick Saban over on the capstone. So we'll see about that one at Florida State at Doak Campbell Stadium. Another good one. Alabama under Saban played so many neutral site games on campus, man. Man, we even saw that in the playoff last year. Those on-campus environments were awesome last year. Final game, it's kind of a repeat. I apologize for repeating ourselves, but during our ACC preview and Big 12 preview, this is one of my favorite games. I didn't highlight a whole lot of individual games, but this one I did. And I think it's two teams compared to last year that are moving in opposite directions. For the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets, it started on an interim basis for Brent Key, and he won 2 games on the road as 3 touchdown favorites. He has an undefeated record against ranked teams in his day and Atlanta. So I think it's 4-0 right now. And then we also saw Haynes King, and boy, we rode him a lot last year. True dual threat. Not the prettiest of runner, but damn it, he's effective, and he'll run behind his pads. And, man, when those safeties has to come up and run support, and they run that option action a lot, and he pulls off of it, boy, it makes for easier throwing opportunities. I love the system. It seems like it's tailor-made for Haynes King. The other thing is, this is not done with gimmicks and immediate results in Georgia Tech from interim to the last couple of years. It's been a steady ascend in Georgia Tech. And, man, all you got to do is look at that Georgia game last year. Between the hedges, and there's should have won, could have won, but they should have won that game. That basically came down to a battle of 2-point conversions on that Black Friday primetime game between the hedges. All of this being said, there's a lot of things in place, staff-wise, continuity, quarterbacks, coordinators. In Colorado, well, Coach Prime is there, but he just wipes the slate clean each and every year. We know about the high-profile guys that have moved on, and Shador and Travis Hunter. But every year, the offensive line is built -1. It's heavy on skill guys, and they're going to have protection issues. And it wasn't just Shador. He didn't just start running back for his life, trying to buy time. Protection has been an issue, and it's going to be an issue with Georgia Tech again, and also stopping the run. And that's not the offense you want to play in Georgia Tech, because they will be able to run the football effectively. So I see some real issues for Colorado trying to defend Georgia Tech, where in week 1, where offenses are way behind, it's usually some ugly offensive football. So much continuity, roster and staff for Georgia Tech, and also a weak defense to kind of have an easy day than usual in week 1. I'm taking Georgia Tech minus the 4.5. We got down on it 3.5, 4. It's only climbing. I would say get on it before it even goes up any higher at Bet Rivers. Minus the 4.5 at Boulder on that Friday night, Paul.
Yeah, Colorado, I mean, they've obviously lost some significant talent. You lose Shador Sanders, who is an excellent college quarterback. He did run for his life pretty much every time he dropped back there in Boulder. And then you lose the two-way player, Travis Hunter, a guy who was basically an All-America wide receiver and an All-America cornerback, averaged 119 snaps a game. So that's a two-way player of extreme ability that's out the door. So it's going to be interesting to see what Deion Sanders puts on the field in his 3rd year there in Boulder. He announced that his quarterback, his starter, will be Liberty transfer Caden Salter from the Dallas area, who began his career at the University of Tennessee before transferring to Liberty. And then Julian Lewis, their 5-star true freshman quarterback, sounds like he's going to maybe have some packages. So it's going to be really interesting to see that quarterback position. Certainly have the big-time left tackle in Jordan Seaton. Need some other guys. I think they brought some guys in. I really do think Colorado is going to be a little bit better on the offensive line. But as you pointed out, I mean, Georgia Tech has got a lot more veteran pieces. They've got the quarterback in Haynes King, played for his dad and won a state championship at Longview High School here in East Texas. As a high school senior. He's just a gritty, tough guy, just gets down and dirty, just kind of a bulldog of a,
he can play for
quarterback.
Me, man. Oh, he's tough.
Yeah, he's and the teams, they rally around a guy like that who's out there playing physical and talking a little bit, and just he's just a man's man of a quarterback. Colorado, the one thing I worry about a little bit, and I'm with you though, roster wise, just looking at these teams on paper, Georgia Tech clearly superior. But Deion, as an underdog at Colorado, is 9-3 against the spread, 4-0 against the spread as a home underdog. So they've been pretty good there at Colorado. Some of those spreads were a little bit bigger, though, in 2023. So I'm not sure how relevant it is to this game coming up.
Keep throwing it around to get that number back in check, though, Paul. Keep throwing that number out
there. Yeah. keep trying to score to try to get inside the number. But it's going to be interesting. I really am intrigued by this Georgia Tech team. Eric Singleton goes to Auburn, their wide receiver who can stretch the field vertically. I'd really feel good about him if Singleton had come back, but that's not the day and age of college football we're in. They'll go forward without him, and they're going to be a factor in the ACC. This will be an interesting game.
Yeah, man, Georgia Tech's got a 9-game conference schedule. They play Georgia and Colorado. This is what we should be getting, man. ACC versus Big 12. Like we said, at South Carolina, Virginia Tech, ACC, SEC, and, LSU and Clemson as well. SEC, Big 10. Come on, man. Y'all control everything. Just play each other home and away every year, man. Just give us what they want. But until the selection committee gets off the most important criteria of theirs, and they're very hazy about their criteria, it's the loss column. And until they get off of that and try and reward some teams with worse records, with much stronger resumes, you're gonna have what you have. Paul, I'm curious. I talked about Clemson being favored in every game. Who do you have? They play Louisville, North Carolina, and Georgia Tech. Obviously, Georgia Tech and Louisville should be stronger than North Carolina in Belichick's first year. Who do you have higher on your power rating system, Georgia Tech or Louisville?
I think I'm not looking at it right now. I should have. I don't think I have it in my notes here. I think I've got them right about the same. I'm not as high on most people as Louisville. So I've got them within a point of one another. I'm pretty confident in saying that.
Well,
as far as Georgia Tech and Louisville in comparison to one another.
I tell you what, Brom, man. I mean, his record there is pretty doggone tough, and a little revenge spot for Clemson. They got handed to them at home in Death Valley against Louisville last year. They jumped on them quick and had a unusually easily game in Clemson. All right, we do it every Tuesday and Thursday, the College Sports Rush in 4 p.m. Eastern. Tuesday, Big Game Preview. And Thursday, the rest of our best bets. Wednesday, don't forget, it's the 10. Doug Kazarian, Troy Macker, Greg Waddell, all of those guys, Big Ten guys. So, again, that will be tomorrow, 4 p.m. Eastern. That's each and every Wednesday. So, Paul Stone, I'm Jimmy Ott here in the College Sports Rush YouTube channel. A Big Game Preview each and every Tuesday right here, 4 p.m. Eastern.